Is Beyonce a witch?
The fact that people keep saying I'm crazy, hell, the situations I had to deal with and survive are crazy.
Kimberly Thompson says she is tormented from being put under many sexual spells by Beyonce.
She's accusing her of dark magic, witchcraft,
accusations of witchcraft,
extreme witchcraft.
Thompson claims Beyonce, she refers to as this person, has started a campaign of harassment against her that includes extreme witchcraft, dark magic, and magic spells of sexual molestation.
Extreme witchcraft and magic spells.
Extreme witchcraft and dark magic to torture her.
She says that Beyonce has been using her magic to run surveillance and control this drummer's finances.
She also claims Beyonce murdered her kitten after the singer put a spell on her.
They were like, the cat had a spell on it. The cat was taken back to her people, and
they point to hand signals like this as an example of her communicating cryptic messages.
We're talking about other situations where changing into animals and jumping into other bodies and all kinds of really crazy stuff.
Bulging muscles and contorted face.
She's even encouraged other celebrities to also steal and copy my ideas.
How do you prove she's a witch? Do you put her in like a big tank of water? So what? How does that work?
This has been going on since 2006, so this has been a complete nightmare.
I call spirit cooking because spirit cooking is my work since I do it since 90s.
Please do not send any hate or honestly comments of any kind to anyone mentioned in this video on behalf of me or yourself. The purpose of this video is to give my commentary and opinion on matters of public concern. Thank you.
Recently it came to my attention that a former employee of Beyonce had sued her, tried to get a restraining order from her in 2018 over allegations of extreme black magic and witchcraft. So obviously I started investigating, and honestly it left me with a lot more questions than answers. Let's get into it. So first off, I want to start with the lawsuit itself, the legal paperwork filings. These extreme witchcraft allegations come from court filings, but not exactly the type of lawsuit that you would expect. The document itself is actually an application for a restraining order. There's two. There's one for a temporary restraining order, and then there's one for a more long-term order. In California, like in most states, you can get an emergency restraining order off the bat, but then you have to actually go to court and make a case, like do a little trial, a little hearing in order to get the permanent one. So the temporary one you can get quicker without a lot of evidence and stuff, but then you have to get a long-term one if you want it to keep going. Okay, so I have those documents in my folder. We're gonna probably have to blur out, probably ain't gonna be able to show you any of this first page and all that, but I have here the temporary restraining order, and then I have the long-term one or whatever. So starting with the first one that the court would need to decide upon is the temporary one. It was denied, it was dismissed, but I do wanna just read a couple things from it. So the first 2 pages are pretty much just personal information, and then you get to the first allegation, actual thing she's alleging, and she says, well, first of all, she's writing in the section where you would kind of say like, my animals need to be protected, and this would be like if you share an animal with somebody, temporary, something like that, or if someone actually harmed your animal or something like that. So she put it in that section, and she said, who's they, I do not know, because Beyonce is the only one listed as the respondent in this. From what I can see, I don't know, you tell me, but it says they, whoever that is, put a magic spell on my kitten and killed her after her attacking me for 3 months. Well, that's all it says. Like, there's really no more allegations on the whole filing, you tell me. And then at the very end, it just says denied. But this is only the temporary restraining order. And, from the one side of things, not trying to be mean and stuff, I know some people believes in magic and stuff, but I don't think this is necessarily enough to get a restraining order to just say somebody put a curse on your kitten and the kitten died. But that's not to say that the person who filled this out didn't really believe it. I'm not saying she's lying. She probably maybe believed it or whatever, but anyway, it gets denied. So I tried to start redacting and I couldn't. We're just gonna not be able to show y'all the full. We maybe just can show you the title at the top but anyway, so that's the temporary. Well, I'm gonna pass them to y'all. So it was denied, but I think if I'm that judge, I'm probably denying the restraining order as well. Like, Beyonce put a magical spell on my kitten is something that I think is a little bit far-fetched, and I would need at least some proof. Send me a video, send me a link to a YouTube, something, just saying it. I probably deny it too. So not surprisingly, that got denied, but there still was the permanent restraining order to contend with. And she did fill out a form for that as well. And that one made more allegations that are a little bit more like the type of allegations you might expect to traditionally find in a restraining order request. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. This one filed the same day, September 19th, 2018. And similarly, on that first page, just a bunch of personal information we can't show y'all. But these are public records. You can go get these yourself. I'm just, for the purposes of this platform, I'm not showing it. So at the bottom of that permanent restraining order page, she says, my former employer uses extreme black magic and witchcraft and wants to own everything I have and keep me controlled under her witchcraft and black magic, and has been successful since 2006 to current. So this 12 years that's been ongoing, this lady's been under Beyonce's witchcraft. That's what she said right here. Okay. Then you go to the next page, and this is the part where she's supposed to be describing her relationship to Beyonce. How does she know Beyonce even, right? And she says, I worked for her as her drummer for her band for 7 years. So I did do a little bit of looking into this just to see if I could find any substantiation to whether or not that was true. And it does appear, I found some receipts. There's these two articles, this one and then this web archived one, which do kind of show that she was a drummer for Beyonce for at least some time. One of them's from 2014. There's also videos around the internet of her.
The last 6 years, I toured with Beyonce. That was fantastic. Got a chance to meet Jay-Z and Kanye West.
So then after that, the form prompts Kimberly to describe the harassment, and she does so. She just says, when did it happen? And she put the day before, September 18th. And it said who was there and, describe it or whatever. She says, black magic, witchcraft, sexual magic, stalking, extreme all caps, blackbirds following me around, paying off past employers to fire me and steal my intellectual property. And then right after that, paying off past employers. So I start noticing a little bit of a pattern emerging where some of these allegations are far-fetched, I'll say. It's a hard sell for me to believe that Beyonce's making a flock of blackbirds follow somebody, or specifically that. I mean, she makes other allegations about insects elsewhere, but then it's other real allegations in here that for sure happen, and it are grounds for this, like stalking and harassment, like black magic. How are you going to get a restraining order for black magic? You better go to the witch court. The question asks who was there. So she answers her husband, her sister, often, her mother, and other employees. So Beyonce's family was there, allegedly. The next page, number 7, how did the person harass you? And again, it's more of the same thing about the witchcraft extreme. I would like to know the tiered list of I want to know what's the rubric for extreme versus regular versus mild. You know what I mean? Actually, I don't want to know. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell me. Extreme. This was the extreme variety. Witchcraft, dark magic, extreme stalking, magic spells on my kitten. It just goes back and forth, right? Dark magic and then stalking and magic spells. One of these things ain't like the other. If this is an IQ test type of thing. Spells on my kitten and then killed my kitten. Extreme sexual magic on me, stalking my travels, paying her employers to manipulate jobs and fire her. Now this says taping my phones, but I don't know if she meant tapping or taping, so I'm just gonna read it as it's written, taping her phones, controlling my finances, bank accounts. Controlling her finances and bank accounts is weird. She is claiming in this restraining order request that Beyonce Knowles, Giselle Knowles Carter, is controlling her finances and bank accounts. That's weird. Tapping my bank accounts, or taping my bank accounts, stalking my social media accounts, stalking my homes since 2006 to current. Then they say, did the person threaten to use any type of weapon? Then she just goes on and continues describing symptoms, I guess. Extreme exhaustion, magic spells of molestation, loss of many jobs, theft of homes, large losses of money, theft of computer hard drives, right? It's okay, wait, I don't think the witchcraft is causing the hard drive theft. These are two different styles of allegations in my experience. So that's just what I'm just reading it to y'all. Again, extreme theft of intellectual property. Murder of my kitten, magic spells, lovers, numerous broken relationships. Were you injured? Yes. Extreme spiritual spells, molestation, stress, depression, sleepless nights, watching me shower, which is an allegation Britney Spears made in court about the abuse she suffered that she compared to trafficking in P. Diddy's neighborhood at the Bridges to Recovery.
They watched me changed every day naked, morning, noon, and night. My body, I had no privacy door for my room. I gave 8 gallons of blood a week.
She said people watched her shower 3 times a day. She's changing and people are in there watching her. And I've always gotten this twinge. Is she trying to say that she was trafficked there? Anyway, this video is already going to be too long, so let's get back on track. What did Kimberly say Beyonce allegedly did? She said, I take a shower, magic is stalking me, loss of appetite, loss of music and computer and career and education. The harassment is constant. She sends her flying, we're back to to they, whoever they is. They send flying monkeys, narcissism attacks, something mental stability. They send physical contacts are being sent to emotionally manipulate me and stalk me. Blackbirds again, tapping my phone calls, calling from unlisted different numbers, witchcraft against me. Like, some of these are grounds for a restraining order. Harassing someone with a bunch of calls from unknown numbers is a good thing to include in here. You know, there's some of this stuff, but then some of it's like the blackbirds. I mean, that's the one. It's the insects and the blackbirds. Okay, so then she puts showing up as my Uber and Lyft driver, and it's unclear to me if she means that literally. Like, she might mean that they are paying people to show up as her Lyft drivers, or they're intercepting or interfering. But like, if you take it literally, it looks like it's saying Beyonce shows up as the Lyft driver, which it doesn't feel credible to me. If I'm a judge, I'm not going to say that's credible. Maybe not one of these words. I mean, if you look at everybody else with the popular opinions, none of this is 0% is true. And so that is the common belief. I am in the mid investigation into whether she is or is not. I have not made my mind up. So we're trying to debunk it because I think she's probably not a witch. Okay, and then this is where she says the thing about the insects. It's just like, I don't get it. Some shows up as workers in common areas of the grocery stores, stalking my home, children, bird, and stalking my home as other children, birds, and insects. So I guess Beyonce is shapeshifter somehow in this. I mean,
other situations where changing into animals and jumping into other bodies and all kinds of really crazy stuff.
What else does she say in this application? Okay. And again, what I'm reading here is the application for the permanent restraining order. The temporary one got denied, but the only thing she said in the whole entire temporary restraining order application was Beyonce put a magical spell on my cat, and the cat got poisoned and died. There was no stalking, harassment, none of these other words were in there, so it got denied. And then this is the permanent attempt at it, which was filed the same day. She ordered again, the spell on the kitten. She goes back into the kitten was attacking her and all that. So, I mean, here's that one. Okay, so bizarre, to say the least. And all that gets filed on September 19th, 2018. The temporary restraining order is dismissed, like I said, because she just said the kitten got a spell on it. That's not really grounds for a temporary restraining order. And then she made some more serious allegations in the permanent restraining order. And then the court sets a hearing for a little trial on the permanent restraining order. And that is put on the calendar to happen on October 11th. But in between the filing for the restraining order and the hearing that was set to happen about a month later, all hell breaks loose in the media about Beyonce is a witch.
Bizarre allegations, like the lady who went to court accusing Beyonce of practicing extreme witchcraft.
Everybody from the tabloids to the traditional media was posting about this extreme witchcraft allegation and weighing in with their opinions. They were interviewing real-life, actual self-purported witches to get them to weigh in on the allegations.
When you perform a hex, all right, so do you consider yourself a witch?
Oh, I am a witch. For everybody.
Should I be scared?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, because, you know, they tell me Beyonce's a witch and shit like that, that we should be scared. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. She's an Ifa. So when she wears her yellow, that's Oshun.
Oh.
You know, riches and beauty and love and all of that, which I can see why she's connected to Oshun. But yeah, so it's another kind of tradition.
Okay.
Like, a lot of people would think it's voodoo, but it's really Ifa.
But the articles I found are all pretty much inconclusive. Like, no one was able to affirmatively tell me she ain't a witch, so I still need to investigate. Like, take this article right here, for example. This witch lady is kind of implying that Beyonce was being unfairly accused of witchcraft, just like the poor souls in the Salem witch trials. But then that same witch lady kind of said that a lot of witches don't think you can even be a healing witch unless you can also cast a curse. Like, you can't heal the curse unless you can cast the curse. Like, that's apparently one of the rules. Sometimes it's, you know, different people has different rules, I guess. Sometimes. And then she also said the more secret that a magical spell is, the more powerful it can be. So if you want it to be really powerful, then you would keep it a secret. So you're not going to tell everybody I'm a witch, I'm doing spells. So, I mean, yeah, pretty much by the end of the article, they clearly wanted me to think Beyonce's not a witch, but it was inconclusive. Nobody was able to give me any receipts, any proof, any evidence. So I had to continue the investigation. Kimberly herself did a 16-minute long interview with the Daily Mail as well, in the meantime of before the hearing would roll around. And in this interview, she doubles down on the allegations. She says God is real, all this is real, she's not lying. And I mean, other than the bizarre allegations and claims she was making, she seemed like a pretty normal lady that just seemed normal. And it was like, to me, it added a little bit of credibility because somebody's putting their name and their face out here, and it's somebody who you can track down to a Wikipedia page, and she's been in the industry, and she's saying that this happened, and she's trying to cut the cord. So she's out here doing this. She's out here doing all of that. It's also credible to me because she knew Beyonce in some capacity. They have these pictures together and all that. So the trial date comes around just a few weeks after she files for this extreme witchcraft restraining order, and she's a no-show. She was out here doing all these interviews and all that, but she did not go to court. Nobody, in fact, showed up to court. Nobody showed up for on behalf of Beyonce either. No lawyer, just to make sure. Just nobody showed up from either side, and the case was dismissed. And if you kind of look at the case in the media and just looking it up yourself, it may slip through the cracks why it was dismissed. Because it might look like it was dismissed because it was so frivolous and so silly and so crazy. But really, that's not why it was dismissed. Now, it could have been, maybe, we'll never know because nobody showed up. Maybe she was never heard from again. I'll have to look. I might have said that for hyperbolic effect. What I meant when I said that, when I said it, I think was, she didn't try to do this again. Like, she was out here in the media doing the whole song and dance, but she didn't make those allegations again anywhere, anyhow, that I'm aware of or that I saw. Maybe she did. Maybe I missed it. So we never really did find out in any court evidence whether Beyonce was a witch or not. So I had to continue my investigation further. And it brought me to the idea, to the fact that these allegations against Beyonce came to my attention exactly the same time that some other very weird lawsuits making very strange and weird and bizarre allegations also came to my attention involving this group of people. Jay-Z, Beyonce's husband, Beyonce herself, P. Diddy, who we've seen, and all kind of other people we've seen and not. There's actually a whole progeny of weird AF lawsuits against these people. And of these lawsuits, 2 of them I have made videos about on my other channels already. One of those 2 names Beyonce as a defendant. So this came to my attention at the same time that I'm already covering these cases that are weird and strange and making bizarre, outrageous. So it's like, wait, hold on. I'm seeing there's a whole progeny. And so I start looking it up. Come to find out, there's a lot more. But let me just talk about the 2 that I already covered on my channels real quick. This first one is against the 1953 trust, which is the Jeffrey Epstein estate. Like, all his riches, everything he owns and all of that is in this estate. It got sued back in 2020, and it was by this lady, Charlene Latham. So he got sued, but alongside him was 48 defendants. Jay-Z, the other Stein, we'll put a picture up, Stein, Jay-Z, and a bunch of other people. So in this lawsuit, a woman by the name of Charlene Latham makes some horrifying allegations against a huge group of defendants, including the people I just named, but also Beyonce, Kanye, Lil Wayne, and many, many more. So this lady accused these people of a, quote, sociopathic criminal enterprise involving decades of HTSA and various abuses, including financial and economic exploitation, drugging for repeated abduction and kidnap, purchase agreements for children and ownership of children, settlement agreements when people try to sue them for trying to own their children. Look, listen, I'm just reading from what they had said in here, okay? The allegations also include that Stein and Jay-Z used Les Wexner's money to settle some of these allegations and then stalked the family for years to reappropriate back the money by selling those same children who they had settled with back into FOs on Epstein's properties. These are the allegations. Oh, he's like one of these rich, big, billionaire mogul types. What is he in? He may be Les Wexner. He owns something big, maybe now, importantly, this lawsuit has been dismissed as frivolous, but this is what she was accusing of in 2020. And I covered this already on my channel. They used this rich guy's money through the help of Jeffrey Epstein to settle a millions of dollar financial settlement with this family. But then as soon as the settlement was over, they just employed those same people to go and stalk them and bring them back into the FOs and keep making their money back, basically, off the people or whatever. That's the allegation. Unlawful surveillance, extortion, repeated drugging, money laundering, physical torture, and all this happened because the plaintiff's mom had refused to, quote, sell her child for use at one of J.E.'s various orgies around the world. Hiring defendants to stalk them was an allegation, and it's wait a second, hiring someone to stalk someone sounds kind of like hiring someone to fire someone or paying someone, using your money to get someone to do something to somebody, and then they're saying it in that. But, anyway, so, okay, that's the last time I have to turn. Again, I already covered that case on my channel, and there's one other I already covered as well that also mentions Jay-Z. This one doesn't mention Beyonce, but this one was filed 2 years later. So 2018, the kitten poison lady, WitchCraft Extreme. 2 years later, Charlene Latham, the Steins and the Steins, Jay-Z, Ghislaine was mentioned. I mean, we'll scroll through all the defendants. It's like the government of Qatar or something. I don't know, girl. I don't know. I'll just put it up here. But then 2 years after that, a third lawsuit we're going to talk about now. That one was filed against Jay-Z, Diddy, Rick Rick Ross and 2 Chainz. Now, in this one, the plaintiff is a man by the name of Ross Daniel Walker. And he claims he was homeless at the time he met Jay-Z and that he was exploited and used in humiliating and degrading ways by Jay-Z and his associates/friends. Now, I do have Ross Daniel Walker's allegations right here. And, importantly, again, I gotta have to keep saying this. The lawsuit I just talked about has been dismissed as frivolous, the Steens and the Steins. Dismissed as frivolous. The one with the 2018 lady didn't show up to court, so it didn't get prosecuted, okay? So far, innocent till proven guilty, okay? But then there's this Ross Daniel Walker case that I talked about. And this one's the one I made a video about on YouTube and it got deleted. Deleted instantaneously. Well, actually not really. It was like within the first 24 hours. But it had a lot of views. It got 30,000 or something views and poof. Literally when I woke up the next day, it was gone. Mystery. Anyway, so in that allegation, dismissed, also dismissed as frivolous. Same thing as the case before. And these allegations, again, very strange. And it started to get to the point where it's like, wait, I haven't even seen one normal allegation against these people. It's all kind of deranged and strange. Like, what about them ladies that came out and accused Lizzo of the banana thing? Like, if that would have been accused in one of these, would have been dismissed as frivolous. I don't know. It's just kind of like, well, okay, let's see what Ross had to say. And I already covered this on my channel. Just to name a few allegations, he sued, like I said, Jay-Z, 2 Chainz, Diddy, and this is before the whole Cassie lawsuit happened. This is 2022. And also Rick Ross. Okay, so it's kind of a form like we've seen already, and it's where he's got to explain why this court has authority, the jurisdiction component. And he says, human trafficking, harassed and intimidate, use for conspiracy theory, stole my art's ideas. And now I'm like, I mean, we'll put a picture up right here. I have it right here, you can look. But I'm starting to make a list about how that sounds familiar. Stealing art's idea is kind of another way of saying intellectual property, right? Your idea is your property from your intellect. That's what it is. And so it's like, well, I mean, so far, is it that far-fetched that you would accuse anyone of human trafficking, intimidation? Yeah, use for conspiracy theory seems like a little bit of a dog whistle, like, oh, this is a conspiracy theory guy or something, but IP theft? Just sprinkled in. I don't necessarily feel convinced by a lot of this evidence. There's no Tyrone Blackburn receipts, text messages. It's some of the most heinous type of stuff too, which makes it eerie to me. So on the part where he's supposed to put the amount in controversy, like how much he's suing for, he writes the following. Definition of character harassment, systematic racism. I'm seeking damage for and oppression, 20 billion. Might be 120 billion. I'll let you decide. It looks like it could be a 1. So $20 billion he wants. Okay. Again, this has been dismissed as frivolous. The judge didn't even hear any evidence. They looked at this, took one look and threw it out. So it's dismissed. I'm not saying any of this happened. I think 20 billion seems a bit out of touch, if I could say. Then Ross Daniel Walker, he says, I'm seeking damage because I feel like I was being harassed at the time I was homeless. I was made famous, and use and oppression, used in lyrics and song. Delete of memory, used by many of his peers for song. I was being exploited. Embarrass me, bodily waste, discharged. And when I read that, it seemed like maybe that was something like molest, which was alleged in 2018. But y'all, I mean, I can only take it as literally. I don't know what bodily waste got discharged, girl. But I hope he's okay. And then next thing he says is, I'm being marginalized in social distancing, and now I am being blackballed. Psychological brainwash. I was called stupid and R-word by the person Jay-Z. Vulgar language to describe me, used for slavery. A homeless man. Well, slavery is another word for human trafficking. It's the new word for it. It's the same. It's involuntary labor, servitude. Hashtag I was used for science. Hashtag anybody can make shit up. Let's see what then happened with him. Anything else? Well, this was dismissed. So there's that one. So we talked about 3 lawsuits just now, or, kind of lawsuits-ish. Number 1, the restraining order by Kimberly Thompson. This restraining order was supposed to be against Beyonce, and it was dismissed, not because it was frivolous, but because Kimberly did not show up. That's weird to me because Kimberly showed up for the news interviews for 16 minutes and did all of that, but now she's nowhere to be seen in court. The other lawsuit we talked about was the one where they had the Steens and the Steins and the plane and the island and the purchase and all of that, dismissed as frivolous. And then we had another case 2 years later. I've already also covered this one, which was the alleged homeless man who purported they stole, used him, slavery, and all of this, dismissed as frivolous. So that could be the end of the video. That could be it. They're all dismissed as frivolous. Beyonce's probably not a witch. Moving on. But my Beyonce as a witch investigation has to continue. Because when you look into the public record, there is an entire progeny of exactly this type of lawsuit, and it goes all the way back over 10 years ago against Jay-Z and or Beyonce with the same type of weird allegations. And many of these lawsuits also name known associates of this couple like Diddy or whoever. I'm gonna give y'all just a few examples of the many lawsuits I found. Now, all of these lawsuits are public records, which can be accessed by any member of the public. Y'all can get them. I just accessed them publicly, okay? And do not contact or send hate to anyone mentioned in this video or any of my videos. Thank you. This is meant to just show y'all what I read on the lawsuits in the public, in my opinion, okay? Innocent. Everybody's innocent, okay? So I went back about to 2015 for purposes of these examples. So let's go to August 2015. In this lawsuit, a woman by the name of Evelyn Gray sued like 46 defendants, including the literal United States of America, the certain 3-letter agency, and the LA County Department of Children and Family Services. She also sued Diddy, Wendy Williams, Beyonce, I think one of Beyonce's cousins, I don't know, all kind of other people. Now, Evelyn claimed in her lawsuit that there was a conspiracy involving these defendants where they conspired to harm her in various ways, including stalking, harassing, defaming, slandering, stealing her identity, wiretapping, using media connections to abuse her, terrorizing her, and stealing her intellectual property, including her dance moves, fashion concepts, and her singing. She specifically accuses Jay-Z, Drake, Megan Thee Stallion, and Cardi B of plagiarism and unjustly enriching themselves off of her intellectual property, including her artistic ideas. Now, this sounds similar to they stole my arts ideas in the Ross Walker, whatever lawsuit. And here's the Evelyn Gray one. So in 2018, this drummer sues Beyonce for extreme witchcraft, doesn't get the restraining order because she doesn't show up for court. 2020, Charlene sues Jay-Z and the Steens and the Steins trying to buy and sell children. 2 years later, 2022, Ross Daniel Walker, a homeless man, sues Jay-Z and Diddy's another for slavery and embarrassing body discharge, waste, and all that. And the same year, even more allegations would follow. In November 2022, a man named Irvion Miller sued Beyonce for $900 million, alleging assault and theft. He said defendant Beyonce will not leave him alone. He also says Beyonce stole his songs. The very next month, in December 2022, Jay-Z and Beyonce are hit with yet another lawsuit filed by a woman named Victoria Dillhunt. Victoria alleges that the couple used their influence to deprive her of rights and organized crime against her. Then she really steers off into left field about the communist agenda and a bunch of other stuff, and this one was also dismissed as frivolous, but honestly, y'all, the lady really did not make any specific claims. It kind of might as well have been she poisoned my kitten with magic. It was really, there wasn't anything specific. She did not provide any legitimate evidence to support her claims that she was specifically harmed or harassed in some way, so I truly can see why it was dismissed on those grounds. I just did want to include it as an example, and again, y'all, I'm not saying any of this is true or any of it happened. I'm really just reporting on what was said, and I'm telling y'all what the disposition was. Anyway, the very next month after this Victoria Dillhunt lawsuit, Beyonce gets sued again for assault, trespass, battery, wrongful death, intellectual property, conspiracy, unlawful wiretap, medical malpractice, human experimentation, enslavement, implanting devices in her body, and poisoned with date beep drugs. Now, these allegations would come from a woman named Latricia Laverne Brown. Again, 1 month after Victoria, which was only a month or two after Ross Daniel Walker, the same year as him. We're like, bam, bam, bam. Harassment, stalking, intellectual property, dance moves, song lyrics, witchcraft, mind reading. Like, it's hard to differentiate what of these allegations are believable. Because it's, on the one hand, you're like, can't be, it's all these people making these absurd allegations. Something got to be true. But then on the other hand, it's like, come on. I mean, they're also saying she's doing Blackbird's bails or whatever. In court, you got to know where you are and what you're actually asking for. Like, how is a judge going to, okay, let's say it's real. Let's say magic's real, witches are real, and Beyonce is a real witch doing real witchcraft even. How's a judge going to do anything? How's a judge even going to know? What's the test? They going to do the witch trials? That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to bring something to a judge can do something about. And even if the magic is true, the judge can't do nothing about it. That's why I'm thinking she should have stuck with the stuff the judge can do something about. Stalking, harassment, you know, I don't know. It's hard, I guess, for me to decipher. The 3 first ones were all pro se litigants filing on their own behalf, and they just said it all. And they didn't know maybe how to say it or if that was the right even word to describe it or something, like could have been. Me too. I am undecided on whether Beyonce is practicing witchcraft as of this point in the investigation. And as of if any of this is true. Yeah. She came to mind a lot in Dahlia. You know, Dahlia Takali had said in that footage, in that public record, Tulsa police who have still not done an investigation body camera footage, that she was being similar allegations picked, RAPED. She said her mom had her hooked up to devices, monitoring her and all of that. And it's like, that sounded crazy till you realize that's what her sister does for her job, right? She's an entrepreneur that collects biometric data on people that has mental health problems or situations or whatever. Anyway, so then this one comes from Latricia, and she would make all kinds of allegations against a so-called conspiracy shrouded in a code of secrecy pyramid scheme scandal. That brings to mind a certain manifesto I've heard of recently. If you know, you know. She alleges that she was targeted specifically by family members of Beyonce and Jay-Z, which is a similar allegation we've seen before, and that they had this whole scheme to get somebody pregnant and hold the child over somebody's head or something. Girl, I don't know. The lawsuit is over like 130 pages long. I did not print that one out. But here's the kicker on that one. It has not been dismissed. Not fully. Parts of this lawsuit are still ongoing to the present day, and I am looking forward to seeing how that all turns out. And that was filed in January 2023. So that brings us all the way to this year in January 2024, when yet another person attempted to get a restraining order against Beyonce in California. For what, you might be wondering? I'll tell you. Alleged, quote, threats, hiring individuals to cause her harm, and stating on social media that she intends to cause this alleged victim harm. She meaning Beyonce. Now, this restraining order request is particularly interesting to me because this exact same plaintiff also sued Diddy in a different jurisdiction just a couple months ago in March. So this right here is one of these victims, wrong victim. Shatoya, this is her restraining order request. Oh no, it is the same one. I did it right. I was right. And then this is the Diddy lawsuit. So she's suing Diddy in federal court, or she tried to, and also trying to get a restraining order against Beyonce in California. Now, the Diddy case has already been dismissed on, yet again, jurisdictional grounds. The judge just didn't have the authority to hear the case, so they couldn't. So the case got dismissed. But in that Diddy case, it was dismissed yet again on more of a technicality than any finding of fact by the judge. So it's not like the judge looked at it and said, this is so frivolous. No, the judge said, can't help you. I can't hear this here. I don't have authority over this case and these people. And the person filing for the restraining order in this case is a woman by the name of Shatoya LaRose, and she claimed that Beyonce stole her data, among other things. And even though these allegations are certainly a bit far-fetched on first glance, I cannot help but notice that it's all starting to sound kind of familiar at this point. Like, how many of these lawsuits allege some type of data, computer, hard drive, IP theft for use in songs or lyrics or dance moves or songs or singing? We saw Kimberly Thompson claim that Beyonce tried to steal her intellectual property on page 2 of her 2018 restraining order filing. 2 years later, Charlene Latham alleged Jay-Z and others attempted to create lucrative intellectual property and developed very profitable concepts and consumer products in a diverse array of industries, quote, in her now dismissed as frivolous 2020 suit. 2 years later, we had Ross Daniel Walker, the homeless man, claiming that in 2022, his art's ideas were stolen for use in songs and lyrics. Same year, we had Irvion Miller claiming in his restraining order request that Beyonce watches him in his house, just like many other celebrities. And he stated that he would like to be compensated if Beyonce steals another song. In her 2024 restraining order request against Beyonce, Shatoya claims that Beyonce uses her for business and personal use unauthorized and threatened her that if she filed suit, Beyonce allegedly threatened her that she would harm her and her family using, among other things, poison, which brings us all the way back to Kimberly's poisoned cat extreme witchcraft allegation. Or let's take the allegations of stalking or harassment, either directly by Jay-Z and Beyonce or supposedly that they hired and paid people to effectuate some type of stalking regime. Kimberly Thompson described this in 2018 restraining order filing, alleging Beyonce and Jay-Z paid employers to fire her. She also specifically alleged stalking on page 2 of the Form C-100. Charlene Latham said in her now dismissed as frivolous 2020 lawsuit that she and her entire family were stalked by hired goons for decades in a scheme effectuated by Jeffy the Steen using Les Wexner's money. This suit has also been dismissed as frivolous. Now, Irvion Miller said in 2022 Beyonce will not leave him alone and watches him in his house. And then Shatoya 2 years later claimed in her TRO filing that Beyonce stalks and harasses her phone contents and phone data. Then there's these allegations about controlling finances and financial exploitation. Charlene in 2020 described financial and economic exploitation in her allegations, which were dismissed as frivolous. Shatoya in 2024 makes filings that Beyonce has caused her financial loss, which she's reported to the police in an alleged scheme that's been ongoing for more than a year. And don't even get me started on how many of these lawsuits include allegations of ST, S exploitation, HT, body waste discharge, S parties, G's planes, and every other thing else. That's a story for another day and maybe another platform. But anyway, I could do this compare and contrast all day. There were, like I said, more suits. This is just a sampling. I just wanted to give a few examples of a few lawsuits and how a lot of these allegations, once you really inspect them, look essentially identical. So, in our investigation into whether Beyonce is a witch, we still kind of came up empty-handed, which led us to another little piece of evidence. Boom. And that is the head Serbian BIC, Marina Yevramovic. What is Abramovich? I'm so used to saying Yevramovic. Now, this is not to be confused with another witch on this channel, Lima Yevramovic. I know the likelihood for confusion is uncanny, and Lima's mother's accent sounds uncannily similar. I'm talking, I could close my eyes, I wouldn't know who was talking.
Please, this not can go public.
My email become public.
That's interesting to me. Anyway, Marina Abramovich alleges to be a so-called performance artist. And honestly, she may very well be, but it ain't no performance I ever want to go to or see or be around or experience in any way for any reason. It looks depraved. I'll just leave it at that. I rebuke. Thus for entertainment, education purposes only. It's nasty. I hate watching her stuff. She's disgusting. She disgusts me. She is a grotesque and detestable individual. But anyway, so Marina has been prominently featured in at least one Jay-Z music video, and it is cringe and embarrassing AF. Like, I legit almost felt secondhand embarrassed for Jay-Z. Then I came to my senses, but poor thing, bless his heart, Marina is literally laughing right in his face. But that's not the only time he's been seen hanging out with her and, you know, their little crew that they hang out with. And I know y'all want me to do a whole entire video investigation on this lady, but I honestly cannot look at her face or hear her voice or look at her depraved and detestable and grotesque. I'm not calling it art. Sorry. Work product. I can't look at it for longer than a few minutes, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a whole investigation on her. She's deplorable. Anyway, apparently she's like good friends with like Hillary Clinton. That's, I think, what I wanted to, how it's like confirmed that Hillary did actually go.
No, you've been accused essentially of doing black magic in order to help Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's kind of
where we are with this.
Creating spirit cooking dinner with the blood, basically. Right. Okay, this is how insanity of this election is. It's just incredible. So I have to just tell you, first of all, what is happening now. My email become public. I have to change my email. I have to change my telephone. My all credit cards are blocked. I can't take any money out. It's incredible because everything been hacked. So what happened is that I give context to the public. You know, I have my art institute called Abramovich Marina Institute for Long Duration Performance Art. So I've been raising the money through Kickstarter. Tony Podesta, who is the brother of John Podesta, who
is Hillary Clinton's campaign manager.
Exactly. He is my collector since more than 30 years of my work and friend. So he helped with donating some money to this institute, like many other people, 4,500 people to tell you. And then I had rewards, and some rewards is the dinner with me. So I invite 10 people for this dinner and called Spirit Cooking, because Spirit Cooking is my work since I do it since 90s, and it is actually poetry.
And like, what in the world is that woman enjoying this art for? I mean, look at her. She enjoys the clowns.
What's the difference for a woman in comedy than a man in comedy? Can they do the same thing?
Comedy is okay, but clown is more difficult.
Anyway, alas. And from everything I know about witches, I mean, if you just take one look at this woman's face, especially this side profile, I don't even think you ever had to see a witch before in your life to know for a fact Marina Abramovich is a witch. I mean, look at the chin, the nose curl, the way the black hair, the way she looks like she's gonna hurt you or something. That looks like a witch to me, but apparently she denies that she's a witch. She said she ain't a witch. I mean, maybe she never actually said that. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe she just tried to imply it. I need to go back and see if I can get her actually denying it. because that would open a whole new investigation. But anyway, she said she ain't. So for the purposes of this thing I wrote, it's inconclusive. Alas, she denies the witchcraft allegation and says that her spirit cookbook was just a book of poems that weren't meant to be taken literally.
And it is actually poetry.
But then she kind of contradicts herself a little bit in this radio interview where she literally calls that cooking style her life's work that she's been doing for 30 years. So it's inconclusive whether or not she even meant to write that book as poetry or literal, because she was literally putting it on the walls in the museum, but I can't talk about it too much more. Anyway, it's hard to say whether her association with Jay-Z makes Beyonce a witch by association. That's basically the conclusion there. But it certainly puts Jay-Z and Beyonce one additional connection point away from the most powerful politicians in this country, because Marina is a very politically connected individual. We have a whole side note podcast episode thing coming out on that later.
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later. But this kind of makes me question some of the other allegations in the various lawsuits about how maybe the police and the government and everybody is involved in some of this scheme, because it's not hard to imagine that they could have those connections. I don't know. Inconclusive, y'all. Innocent until proven guilty. But I know what a lot of y'all are thinking. You're probably thinking something along the lines of this guy's comment, that these celebrities are victims of deranged and unhinged schizophrenic lunatics. This guy had put this comment up talking about this is a textbook example of the schizophrenia or something like that. And that's what they said about Amanda Rabb. But then when you look into her allegations, supposedly so schizophrenic, it was like she was being followed and used as an experiment. And I mean, she did say some other stuff, like she was cloned. But I don't know, some of those, it's kind of like this. Some of the allegations were serious and sincere. It wasn't like, well, we supposed to not believe anything she says. That's what they want you to do. In the current popular opinion, and even of many judges, we live in a time where if someone has a diagnosis of a certain mental illness, especially schizophrenia, then the general consensus in polite society is to essentially disregard any and everything that person ever says. It's basically encouraged to not believe a single word out of a schizophrenic person's mouth. And I don't know how we got there exactly, because I don't believe any mental health diagnosis should make you discount every word that comes out of someone's mouth. I mean, I guess unless the mental health diagnosis is pathological liar, but even still, I digress. What I find miraculous and convenient is that any time someone alleges they are being stalked, harassed, or experimented on by the government, they are assumed to be schizophrenic. In fact, it's one of the symptoms of schizophrenia that you think the government is stalking you. It's like a textbook, like this guy said, textbook. By no means am I a doctor, and I don't even play one on YouTube. Please go and seek out your own medical help. It ain't coming from me. All right, with your doctor. But hear me out. Isn't it convenient for the powers that be that there's a whole entire diagnosis that the symptoms for which include specifically the afflicted person believes they're being monitored, stalked, or harassed with technology by the government or by anybody? And there's a very limited set of circumstances that allows the government to take away our rights without due process. And one of those circumstances is if a person has schizophrenia. Really think about it. A symptom of schizophrenia is thinking the government or Beyonce or whoever famous person is stalking you or experimenting on you. And schizophrenia is one of the few reasons the government can take you against your will into forced psychiatric incarceration, where they can medicate you, drug you, keep you.
Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk with you about patient rights during a 5150.
Actually, I'll rearrange the statements as a question. I think that's going to drive the point home a little bit better. Let me ask you this. Let's travel over to the hypothetical dimension, somewhere else, not here. We don't live there, somewhere else, just for a few seconds. Let's say we're in a reality where Beyonce and Jay-Z are serial stalker witchcraft practitioners who are abusing people and stealing their IP and killing their kittens with witchcraft and magic, or anything else, poison. In that dimension over there, where do these purported victims go for help, justice? Because the allegation that Beyonce or Jay-Z could possibly be involved in this type of activity is dismissed outright by federal judges as delusional without ever hearing or seeing any evidence. Sua sponte on their own, without anybody responding, they just said no, it's delusional. I don't know, it's just things to think about. But then there's all these alternative allegations that no. Beyonce is not a mastermind extreme witch. On the contrary. En contraire, she is a victim herself, and she is trapped in her own basement or something. I'll insert here some clips from the more conspiratorial side of the social media, and I'll let you know what the girlies and everybody else been saying about all that. Hopefully we don't have to start a free Beyonce movement anytime soon.
There's been a lot of speculation lately that Jay-Z is holding Beyonce hostage in their marriage and giving her illegal substances to keep her under control. Many fans have also noticed that Beyonce completely lost her spark ever since Jay got exposed for cheating, and they're saying it's truly terrifying how hypnotized and dazed Beyonce looks these days.
But yeah, I set out to investigate whether or not Beyonce is an extreme witch, and pretty much intended to debunk very easily that Beyonce is an extreme witch, but I haven't seen it debunked anywhere in court. And even the witches themselves, purported witches, they couldn't really tell me whether she's an extreme witch or not. The extreme witch allegations were not dismissed on any factual grounds. They were dismissed because there was a failure to prosecute. Was there a settlement? I don't know, but there was allegedly a settlement and then now dismissed as frivolous Charlene Latham case. And I could keep going like this for probably like a year or something. Anyway, that's all I really have for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it. Goodbye.